Good morning and welcome to Talking Point here on WESN, the content capital. My name is Keaton Shaw and you perhaps already knew that, but I was just reminding you this morning. Anyway, let me also remind you of my co-host and colleague. How could we forget about him? He is he's enthusiastic this morning at least. Mr. Sean Michael Small is alongside me. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning,
Never
Keaton.
mind. You see, that face says the complete opposite.
I'm always enthusiastic. Can't you see? This is the face of excitement and charisma. This is the voice of energy and the spark of enthusiasm that TNT needs on a Wednesday morning. Thank God it's Wednesday.
Sean, you sound as though somebody stole your copper wire last night from outside your house.
It almost happened. It almost happened. I was freaking out. I was like, oh gosh, no, oh gosh, no. Because again, when the Southern Exchange got vandalized, I didn't have net for a good chunk of that night. So, or at least maybe it was a separate incident before. I'm not sure any timeline. But it is what it is. We live in fear of copper wire thieves.
Imagine that. Well, no, Trinidad and Tobago.
You know?
Considering the world we live in, imagine a country without internet.
Metropolis has Lex Luthor. Gotham says he has the Joker. We have the copper wire thief.
Well, and who is going to save us from them? Not the commissioner.
Anyway.
Also, joining us this morning via Zoom, we're always happy to have her. She's our Wednesday commentator, the original commentator of Talking Point. She is the former Minister of Finance and Attorney at Law Intellect, and our good friend, Miss Karen Nunes Teixeira. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning to you, Keaton. Good morning to you, Sean, and of course to your viewers. Always good to be with you on what they call it, Hump Day. Yes, so
yes,
Hump Day. And I mean it in the sense of the camel, just crossing over to the next side. Just in case.
I'm glad you clarified, Karen, because some people might not understand.
In this country, a lot of people will need that clarification. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I just want, that's why I did that, just to be very clear that that's exactly what I meant. But good to be with you.
Well, it's good to have you, Karen. Now, as folks, listen, as much as, we tend to focus a lot in our domestic affairs here on the program, we also look at our relationship with the global world. And as we, especially given our geopolitical position, and according to the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, at times our unfortunate geography in relation to where we are at in the Caribbean, we must this morning discuss a topic of which it started last week, very controversial visit of the head of the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, of course, to Taiwan. Taiwan, a disputed territory. China claims it as its own, and Taiwan, though not an officially independent state, has been governing itself for years. Now, the ambassador of China to Trinidad and Tobago has actually responded, but it also puts us in a difficult position. Why? We align ourselves, I'd like to say in a neutral manner, but at times you just really wonder. We tend to play a game because our ally is the United States of America, but our ally is also China. And that's why exactly it makes it difficult. Sean, in studying international relations, we come about situations like this all the time. And I think you mentioned it perfectly. We've been playing a game for so long, and it seems to have worked. But what do you do now when you're in a position such as this, especially Trinidad and Tobago, which often speaks about democracy, touting democracy, but now finds itself in a position where democracy is really at stake?
Well, here's the interesting conundrum, because there's always the question with regards to law and international relations, our precedent set. What is Taiwan? Taiwan is, for all intents and purposes, an island province. A big island, but an island province of what would have been the Republic of China before the revolution, etc., etc. So now it depends on how you view it. It's been having democratic elections and electing a state leader. As far as I'm aware, it has not officially declared its independence yet. Right? It is not, I believe, a full member of the UN as well. So Taiwan knows how to play the diplomatic game. The question comes about for nations like Trinidad and Tobago, not just with regards to international relations, But what sort of precedents and how does it look now where we have a twin island nation where the smaller island is asking / you could say demanding for more autonomy? You have the same question in Spain, I believe, with the Bath movement. You have the same question in the UK with Ireland. So to what extent now does the international community recognize the right for self-determination of a subgroup?
Well, you're actually seeing a similar situation. You mentioned the United Kingdom with Scotland once more. The SNP is actually pushing for a referendum in relation to its independence. And you mentioned Spain and Catalonia as well is another scenario that you can mention.
So it does, in a way, it can potentially affect us locally as well, because now, you know, it sets up a precedent, albeit an international one, not necessarily apples for apples, of how we're going to view something like this. It's not as though Tobago is acting in the same manner as Taiwan is to China, but there is some similarities. On the flip side, of course, is our relationship with the US, and the fact that our relationship with Venezuela also adds strain to that equation as well.
Well, Karen,
I think, I think there's a major difference between all those examples that you mentioned, with all due respect, because when this is a geopolitical issue, and when in Nixon's time, the U.S. government felt that Russia was gaining too much ascendancy as a superpower, Nixon signed a one China deal, recognizing there was one China, and that Taiwan was part of that one China. So America itself has always sent mixed messages in regard to China. Why it has all blown up now is because of the whole energy crisis, with China being provided with, and they never signed the agreement not to recognize Russia as an aggressor. So they have been continuously supplied with oil and natural gas from Russia. But it's also Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. If the president, who's not the youngest person, or his vice president were to die in office, the third person who would be the person to be president of America is Nancy Pelosi. So it's not just another diplomat visiting China. That's number one. So when they have had others visit, but when Nancy Pelosi, and in fact Nixon had gone to China to seal the deal of the one China, I think a closer analogy would be the one India thing with the Punjab region. With these, that's a closer analogy. But Nixon agreed to the one China policy. And at the same time, they have recognized that Taiwan is part, but yet they say we've had significant aggression around Taiwan within the last 2 weeks with the military exercises with the boats. So there has been a significant increase in displays of aggression by China to Taiwan. So that is a big issue. And the bigger issue when it comes to China, how does that all affect us? Well, it affects us a lot. That airport you talked about Tobago, who's building it? It's China. The ETAC thing, who is the main actor there? It's China. The Exim Bank, it's China. China rail to road initiative, Belt Road, or whatever you call it. I
Belt
can't remember exact
Road.
Right, initiative has gone all over. They've circled the wagons around the world. And they have made a statement which was made by the embassy in Trinidad, calling on Trinidad and Tobago to make a more forceful statement. Because initially, I have to tell you, that President Biden, when Pelosi went there, apparently they said without his blessings, but when Pelosi went to Taiwan, he had said that if any attack was made by China on Taiwan, that America was ready to act. And he was forced to pull back on that statement and to neutralize the statement. America, USA, because they're afraid of Russia. So you have to understand, for Trinidad and Tobago, that has found itself to be the beneficiary of so much of so-called China's largesse, it comes with a price. And the price they're trying to exact from us is not the price of USA. They're not going to fight USA. The price they want to exact from us as a small island nation is don't sit on the fence with us, you come out and say the one China policy and make it clear that Taiwan is part of China. And just to say one last thing, that Hong Kong is part of China. They deal with them in a different way. But when they had the People's Revolution, and a number of persons who were part of there were two the Mao segment and the other, they fled to Taiwan, and they were hoping that they would unite with the communists and they would be one, and that didn't happen. So all I'm trying to say in my contribution to the discussion is, one, China is asking us to come out definitively on a statement with Taiwan. Two, the reason why we are in that monkey pants is because of the significant investment that China has made in Trinidad, for which there's no free money, no free lunch in this world. And three, even in the big United States, Biden had to pull back from his statement with regard to what they would do if China attacked Taiwan. Right? And that a visit by Pelosi was seen as provocation by the Chinese, because she's the third in the line to be president should the vice president or president die or become ill or disabled.
I think
so it's not...
Just so viewers can understand, one of the reasons why this is not just about a separatist province or an internal struggle. For China, I believe this is strategic, because the entire South China Sea, which is more or less extends south-southwest from where the waters where China and Taiwan are located, that entire area is strategic to China, because that area is essentially where oil tankers come through to supply the economy with Middle Eastern oil and gas, which is crucial, despite the fact that China is a significant producer, despite the fact that Russia is now potentially positioning themselves to sell to China. Strategically speaking, they still need to buy from the Middle East. And because of the size of the economy and the growth, although the growth is slowing down now, so with the zero-COVID policy that might change, it is a very sensitive strategic situation for China. So it might be a lot more serious than we might realize in TNT. Meanwhile, America is looking at TNT as one more block in the pyramid that is international relations when it comes for the UN, for votes, for resolutions, for consensus. All the little countries count, because America has one vote, and Barbados has one vote, and Trinidad has one vote. CARICOM has like 12 votes. America has one vote.
Yes, but on the UN Security Council, that does not really matter. And I think one of the facts that we should establish, and forgive me, I'm working a bit Matt and Jeff here, so I didn't hear everything that Karen stated. But essentially, when you mentioned the one China policy of Richard Nixon, that is very crucial to the debate, because Taipei, right, or the regime of Taipei actually had a seat on the UN Security Council up until the 1970s. And if that one China policy didn't come into play because of Richard Nixon, it is most probable that they would have still had a seat at today's council. But I'm glad that you mentioned the economic standings that China has as well, given the South China Sea and Taiwan. Because ironically, you know, Taiwan is a net importer. In other words, its exports exceed its imports, right? And China is actually its biggest trading partner. 40% of Taiwan's trade comes from China. Why is that important? Because, again, as you mentioned, and I'm sure Karen mentioned this as well, not only strategically in terms of the economy, but security as well. Both go hand in hand.
Japan is also one of the countries. There's several countries aligned in the region wary of China. Japan is one of them. Japan imports their oil, as I understand.
Yes.
Not LNG, but just oil, petroleum, or crude oil from China. 40%, I believe,
and I just want to add what both of you are saying. I mean, in terms of the viewers, as people have said, it's the proximity of mainland China to Taiwan. I mean, it's so close. Every time any foreign country wishes to react, it's a done deal. And the other thing too, as you have noticed, LNG has increased in importance for many countries, especially for Europe, which is under stranglehold with Russia with pipe-borne natural gas. So a lot of countries are turning to LNG, but to build an LNG platform like what we have in Trinidad, this is why I come back to us, train 2, 3, and 4, because, you know, 1 was closed. To build that platform takes years. So that a lot of countries are trying to go through the route of going through shipping it. So that passageway becomes even more important. So it's geopolitical, and Trinidad, because of LNG, because of the Belt to Road the initiative, because of the amount of investment China has made in Trinidad, because it has come out and asked us really to come out and take a definitive statement with regard to China. The one China issue and the Pelosi issue is an important issue for us, more so than other Caribbean islands.
And just to wrap it all up, between China, Korea, Taiwan, and Japan, in terms of a lot of consumer goods, that's where it's produced, right? If there's a war there, the disruption to global trade might be even worse than what we've seen with Ukraine. So if you thought there was inflation, I mean, the container shortage in part is because of an imbalance between China and America. So if you thought that inflation from the Ukraine war was bad, conflict there might make it extremely worse, because that is literally the beginning, the starting point of world trade for a good chunk of the planet.
Yeah, but apart from that, look at exactly what they export. Apart from being the hub of oil and gas, as you mentioned, they are a major supplier of electronics for the world.
True.
So if that happens, then
automobiles is one of the major suppliers of automobiles.
We're in trouble. But international law, this is going to be the interesting part, and this is where Trinidad and Tobago has to be very, very careful now. And Dr. Amory Brown, in all fairness to him, I think he knows how to handle the situation, and he explained himself very well. So I have confidence there. But TNT needs to be very careful, because constitutionally, there is an argument in international law. Why is that? Because Taiwan's actual name is the Republic of China.
That's right.
And then you've got the People's Republic of China, where you've got the Taipei regime and the Beijing regime.
Exactly.
And that is tricky.
Exactly.
So,
well,
yes.
Well, I think we educated the public a lot. I learned something from both of you too, actually. So that's a good thing.
But we are over time on this topic, so we'll have to take a break. When we come back, we'll get into something near and dear to Karen's heart. It might be a little controversial for some, but it's an important topic. So stay tuned. This is Talking Point on WESN, your content capital.
Delivered nationwide. Kiss Enriched Bread.
Fill your day with love.
Get ready for an explosion of music an August evening at La Jolla Auditorium, featuring Leandra, Tricanal, David Barreau and Marva, Nathaniel, and from Tobago, John Arnold and Lynette Lewis. August 20th, $250. La Jolla Auditorium from 6 p.m. For more info, call 747-4289 or 262-2584.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
The best for your baby is at thebesttoys.com. From the best strollers, car seats, baby carriers, high chairs, booster seats, rockers, jumpers and bouncers, walkers, baby blankets, feeding accessories, bathtubs. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship McLean. Shop online now at thebesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 332-BABY. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
Welcome back to Talking Point, ladies and gentlemen. And now we have what might be a slightly controversial topic. I do know, because I have heard from people outside of the station who I know personally, that they do have these questions with regards to what happened with Clico, with regards to my very own good friend, Mrs. Karen Shera. And it is something of a personal matter, an important matter to her, and it's important to all of us. It should be anyway. If it's not to you, I should recommend that you rethink your position, and that is with regards to the reports on the financial collapse of Clico. Where did it go wrong and who was responsible? But more importantly, who was not responsible as well? And until it's revealed, we don't know.
Can I just quickly add, before we go to Karen, that this is, by the way, a prime example of how you can have a commission of inquiry producing a report, but it probably doesn't get you anywhere.
Are you trying to say something is going to go wrong with Paria? I didn't say that. But now, Karen, as we discussed yesterday, a certain important individual in government, well, he came out and said, XYZ is an upstanding gentleman, did nothing wrong, nothing is there in the report against them, but as you pointed out to me, he didn't necessarily do that for a lot of people that has the cloud of suspicion hanging over their head, including yourself.
I would say I'm not appear to be lacking in humility. I'm certainly well advised at the time, going back, that certainly one of the People's Partnerships motivations for the Self-Financial Commission Inquiry, which from our Prime Minister's report in 2016, our current Prime Minister, to the Speaker, cost $78 million. What concerned me that it took, Coleman said, that was the loan commissioner, said that his report would only cover the period up to June 2009, which would be the shareholders' agreement. And as we all know, I was the Minister of Finance acting on the government's behalf in signing the MOU, agreeing to the terms of the MOU under very strict time lines, but we won't go into that, as well as the managing it until, of course, I would say fancy with the admitted office, lost elections in May 2010. But the reason I am bringing it up is to say, well, why all this time has passed and why are you now bringing it up? I'm bringing it up because I got incontrovertible, unquestionable confirmation, what I'd always known, but they say bring the evidence. I don't have the report. but incontrovertible, that not only was I not anything negative said about me, but they were not at any point in time was there any criticism of how I handled the matter. And in fact, the commissioner felt that there was no choice but to handle it as I did. Now, why does that bother me? It bothers me because in 2016, when the report was finally released in June of 2016, at the time, I-95, apparently I could have been a guest on their show at that time. I was on the Sunday show, which was very popular. And the purpose of my going there in July was to, in fact, say that the Prime Minister had no intention of releasing that report because it would be condemning or incriminating of some of the major financiers of the government. And just looking at who got salmon letters would be a good indication of who he was talking about. And I think it went on both sides. So I think both sides were not keen to have it released. And I think so that would have been an incentive. So I did say on the show, Mr. Manning had died just before that, so we didn't spend much time on it, understandably and appropriately. I did say, however, that I'm confident that he's not going to release that report. I'm confident he's going to make a lot of noise and say, you know, oh, it's so horrible and go on. But then he's going to let it collect dust on a shelf and tell those whose names he saw in that report, he saw their names in that report, he would tell them, stay quiet, don't make a noise. And now this is 6 years later and it seems I'm right. And why am I bringing it up now? As I said, I got confirmation from an incontrovertible source. And please don't deflect on my point to say, who told you, how leaked? That's not the issue. You know what the issue is? I went back to the speech that the Prime Minister made. I am a PNM. I've never said I have not been. And in fact, I was the PNM Minister of Finance who was in the hot seat at the time. Now, what the Prime Minister did in his speech, if anyone wishes to look back at it, is for some a strange reason, he felt it necessary to clear the name of the Attorney General, who I have no problem with, Faraz Al-Rawi at the time, to say that he was not even mentioned in the report. He was not even called as a witness in the report, although he sat briefly on CIB. But not a word about the Minister of Finance, who was central to the whole collapse of CL Financial, not a word. So what does one conclude? He could only speak about someone who wasn't around in 2009, wasn't an MP, wasn't a minister, wasn't in cabinet, was no part really of that whole CL Financial collapse, not a part of it. And he said, I want it put on the record. But he never found it fit to say, I also need to speak about the part that our Minister of Finance, under the PNM administration, what the Coleman report said of him. The fact that he didn't say anything left everybody to speculate. He didn't do it because it had nothing good to say about me. But that's not true. And I am asking through this show, I did it on 1 and 2, and I'm asking on this show that if the Prime Minister, don't talk about those whose names are incriminated. We have a good idea who they are. Just say what the Coleman report said about me. Because if you did not speak about Faris, I would not ask you to do this. But you saw it fit to clear Faris, as far as I'm concerned. You read that report, so you know what it says, but you never once felt it important that I should be cleared. And I just want to say finally on that. It reminds me when the Integrity Commission, how angry he got up to the other day about his name. Angry. I mean, to the point he almost attacked one of the journalists.
Yes.
He, and understandably on this one, got angry under the cover of privilege as his birth was being questioned in the most horrific way. And he felt it, he got angry and passionate about it. So if you understand the value of your good name, and you understand leaving the speculation hanging over a great cloud over my head, which would prevent me from applying for any job once that thing is out there, you could do me. I'm asking you to do it from, as a member of the PNM, which I'm supposed to be, as far as I know, and as a thing to the government and to your own party, to say what the Coleman report said about the Minister of Finance who signed the MOU, who was part of it. I am asking you to do that.
Well,
and I'm not sure you will, but I am requesting that that be done, given the circumstances I outlined.
I know you won't expect it, and you would very much expect him to never do it, based on all the reasons you already stated. But I assume it's fair to say you would also welcome him just releasing the report in its entirety as well, correct?
Oh, well, I want a report released, but you remember what he said, and you know that is the issue that, and one can't, you know, one has to understand. He did say the level of the level of publication and discussion on the wholesale financial, that he was saying that he wondered whether the persons mentioned in the report would get a free trial if they were brought before the criminal courts. So he did say that he was asking the DPP to act with dispatch, which reminded me very closely of the Galbaran Singh and the other one. Sorry, I don't mean any disrespect by that, but Galbaran Singh and Ish Galbaran Singh and C. Ferguson, yes, that they would have gotten, according to the then judge, Justice Buddha Singh, a swift and quick resolution in our courts. Well, that's the reason he gave. He said, I've asked the DPP to deal with this with great dispatch. But of course, you know that the DPP department, and he's gone on record as 50% understaffed. So he can't even deal with the crimes that he has to deal with, much less has the facility or the capacity to deal with it, which he knew, which the Prime Minister must know. So I'm asking on behalf of the government, he said, and the people of Trinidad and Tobago, he did say that over $78 million was spent. And I won't say what I could say additionally because I want to protect other people. And I wouldn't want to say, but I could say it, and it would not be untrue. But what I will of Trinidad and Tobago, even if you feel that the DPP, who was supposed to swiftly deal with the situation, and it's going on 6 years, you can't do that. I'm just asking, at least as one who was in the hot seat at the time and directly involved in it, that if you could please say what the commission had to say about me, so that just as how you felt that your name was important, within that, just let the country know what Coleman had to say about the Minister of Finance at the time.
And I think for people who might want to be cynical about what you're saying, we do have to ask ourselves, again, there's a reason why innocent until proven guilty is important, right? Because what if you're accused? There's also a reason of transparency. And the reason to ask for transparency, particularly on these high-profile issues, because your example, it's probably not just you alone with regards to CL Financial. And then now, what other situations? Because look, the Paria situation, we don't know who is responsible. So to what extent now will there be rumors and speculations in the industry? Will there be rumors and speculations outside the industry?
But Sean, I want to make it clear. It's not about rumors and speculation. It's about rumors and speculation about me.
I know.
And if he had, and if he had not mentioned Faris Al-Rawi, I would say, well, he didn't want to say anything about anybody. But the fact that he felt that he needed to say that, but Karen, then speak about me.
The point I'm trying to make is, you are but an example. But for the interest of the country, there are probably more examples out there.
But if I may
and future precedent, the precedent could affect future commissions of inquiry.
Just adding to what Sean is saying. First of all, Karen, I know that this is not the first time that you've mentioned this, and I know that this is something that you've been asking for in relation for the report. The least that could be done, if the DPP is just sitting on it for whatever reason, the least that could be done is the report to be released and made public. And I understand that. But you said something which caught my attention, and I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm misquoting you, you said that you feel confident that the Prime Minister will not release the report for certain reasons. And I think you mentioned because of certain names within that report. Doesn't that just essentially state that this is a planned cover-up?
Yes. But I said it in 2016. I mean, if one goes back, I don't know if I-95 keeps their records for that long, but that was the reason I went on this show, because I was in government, I was in cabinet, I wasn't an outsider, I understood. And I remember I played a critical part, which we're not going to go through all the isms and schisms, but be assured, you can be assured that I did not sit on as a director of CIB, a director of CL Financial, Director, Republic Bank. I was not the Inspector of Financial Institutions. I was not the Central Bank Governor. It was not a state enterprise. It was not a statutory authority. It did not trade on the stock exchange. So the question arises that there had to have been a lot of people who in senior positions making decisions regarding CL Financial, which was really like the holding company, but we were the major sources of funneling of money, and they had nobody to answer to because one, they were a private company, and because the Insurance Act at the time, where people would not know that, is that it does not require the insurance companies at the time to send in their auditor accounts till the next year, in March. So, and of course, when you're dealing with a statutory fund, which is what the insurance fund was, you have to make sure that your liabilities, which is to the persons who have invested in your life insurance and invested there for their future, for their when they retire, that the liabilities are met by your assets, and they knew apparently that they would. So I don't want to rehearse the whole issue, but what I want to say is that it is obviously was a huge matter. It went all of the islands, Barbados, Jamaica, all of the islands, because it affected regionally.
The consequences we're still feeling today.
Absolutely. So all I am saying here is that I got confirmation that what I always knew, and I was a lawyer in me, stopped me from saying it before, because I said, you know, Karen, you say that about yourself, but now I got confirmation. So I'm asking, that's all. And I know he's not going to release it because the names involved. The names involved. I was there, I know, the names involved. If you just go back to the salmon letters, Coleman issued 6 salmon letters. A salmon letter is a letter that is issued by the commission when they are about to say something negative about you, they want to give you an opportunity to defend yourself before they come to a conclusion. So it was in the papers who they were recipients of these salmon letters. By the way, I was never one. So it's not a matter of guesstimate or thing. It's a matter of thing that we can kind of know who would be criticized heavily by the Coleman for what the collapse of CL Financial. And all I'm saying is, I don't think he will ever release it because of that very same reason. But I am saying that I want my name cleared.
Also, very, very quickly, because I know we're almost out of time for this topic,
right.
But essentially, too, what you're stating is that we're still feeling it today. Most recently, the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, has indicated that they may have to take legal action against Trinidad and Tobago for failure to make payments on an agreement regarding the collapse of CLICO. But also, Karen, if I may just state, I am going to state this. You know, I don't want you to put yourself in any further position, but in my position, if one individual could be publicly exonerated, it would seem, for you to have to face this, quite frankly, it seems as though you're being targeted. For whatever reason, you are being targeted.
And I just want to end it on this. How many high-profile matters go unresolved for the public? Yes, I get it. The government has the report. Whoever gets elected next, if it's somebody else besides Dr. Keith Rowley, will be able to see the report. But that does not help the public. The public does not get a resolution to what was a very serious matter. Again, what is still a very serious matter. We have another sovereign state basically threatening legal action. How serious that is, time will tell. But the point is, it has happened within the last couple of months. So there's no resolution. How many situations do we allow for there to be no resolution? I get it. I'm not saying that it's easy for the Prime Minister to release the report. And it's not on him alone. It's not on Dr. Keith Rowley alone, because there will be other Prime Ministers after him. So if not now, when? Because it sets a bad precedent for the future. It won't just be with CLICO. It will be with Paria. It will be with Lord knows whatever else down the line. But we have to end it.
We have to take a break there.
Anyway, thank you for allowing me to raise the issue.
Of course, Karen. And need I say, let this not be the last time. You know, never ever stay silent on such matters. As my co-host said, no resolution, simple, just continued pollution. Folks, we take a break here on the program now, and when we return, well, we'll get into some conversations regarding local government, because honestly, I am so tired and frustrated about how politics are affecting the people. We'll be right back after this.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through. Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
I am Rondell Donowa, attorney at law and host of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Strictly Legal is a legal program geared towards informing you, the public, of your legal rights, responsibilities, and remedies. So be viewing Thursdays 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Today we have with us a special guest. He's an NHS physician.
In the United Kingdom, where 70% of the population is fully vaccinated, we've sort of had a chance to experience what normal life is like all over again. So if you can trust the medical fraternity to treat you once you have COVID and you come into the hospital and you trust whatever medication we're giving you at that point, why don't you trust us when we're telling you to take the vaccine?
Healing Queens is a dance company which we do heels dancing, which is a fusion between jazz technique and burlesque styles.
What's up, Doc? Tuesdays and Thursdays here on WESN Content Capital.
Get ready for an explosion of music an August evening at La Jolla Auditorium, featuring Leandra, Tricanal, David Baru and Marva, Nathaniel, and from Tobago, John Arnold and Lynette Lewis. August 20th, $250. La Jolla Auditorium from 6 p.m. For more info, call 747-4289 or 262-2584.
There's a taste in the air everywhere. Feel the vibe, cause it's something to share. Smooth, rich and creamy, you'll find it right here. Makes you smile, relax a while, it's fun and good cheer. Ooh, enjoy every scoop. Ooh, every taste will get you hooked. We have flavors that you love, a combination special. Come along, enjoy our treats. This is Uncle Pete's.
I ended the last segment by stating that I'm absolutely tired and frustrated with how politics is affecting people here in TNT, because I stated that because, truly speaking, if we are to look at it idealistically, politics is supposed to benefit people across the world, but if we're focusing on TNT, it seems as though ketchup and mustard are combinations that are no longer really, I don't know, you know how they used to work in harmony? It seems as though that's not the case anymore. And then you got Relish on the side, who are doing their own thing, Mm-hmm. They need some pepper probably, but, arguably this situation with local government, I know that, in fact, let me cool myself for a little bit, because my co-host actually did us the privilege of cutting a clip from yesterday's press conference in which the Minister of Local Government spoke. Sean?
Yeah, so the Minister of Local Government, he came on to basically present some information with regards to the meeting that they would have had, to explain the meeting, present information that would have been given out of the meeting, because for better or worse, and we'll get into that after the clip, you know, some of the members of local government from across the country did not appear. Let's take a look, listen to what the minister had to say.
We had scheduled a meeting of all of local government, every mayor, every councillor, every alderman, every chairman. That, as you are well aware, involves hundreds of persons. We indicated that the Honourable Prime Minister would lead a discussion today on the operationalization of local government reform. And in amending the 9 laws that we have, today we came to report and to collaborate with all of the local government representatives. The local government event today was directly intended to address relief issues. The relief issues of funding, the relief issues of manpower, the relief issues of attending to services being delivered. Those were on deck today in the local government reform exercise. Quite unfortunately, the leader of the opposition last night demanded that practitioners from the UNC arm of local government, which I should tell you is half of the country, that is 7 of our corporations, that they do not attend today's event. And therefore, the information on how we intend to operationalize local government reform was not able to be given directly to the local government practitioners who are representatives of the United National Congress. In the circumstances, the Honourable Prime Minister did not attend the event today, even though we had scheduled the event and made all arrangements with the announcement by the leader of the opposition last night that the opposition would be boycotting today's important event. The Honourable Prime Minister delegated his comments to Minister Robinson Regis, who ably represented the Honourable Prime Minister today in what turned out to be a very successful event, but unfortunately it was an event which was not populated by half of the people who should be there.
Now, it's important to note that the minister went on to say because of the lack of attendance from UNC local government, councillors, aldermen, etc., that's why he was having this press conference in order to disclose what information was disseminated at the meeting. An interesting point to note, because in that initial preamble where he was talking about that part of the scenario, he mentioned, and quite repeatedly, you know, the Prime Minister was coming and how important it was for the Prime Minister coming, and the Prime Minister took so much time out of his schedule to come, to the point where I found it was a little bit excessive, because it was almost as though he was talking about the Prime Minister. Every 4th sentence was about the Prime Minister. This is a local government press conference. I get it. He's the leader of the country, but, you know, that's not the point of the situation. However, the flip side is, I just found the whole exercise, I get it. There are times when I criticize how the opposition operates. And you also will know that's their job. But when they're not present, how can they then, you know, give opposing views, ask questions?
Well, my friend,
you know, give dissent.
May I?
How does that happen when you fail to engage in the mechanisms of government? And the thing is, now the government could say, well, it's not our fault it failed. It's because the opposition did not participate. And it lets any failure of the government's plan off the hook.
If I may just interject.
I wanted to get all that in before you
started. I know you had to get it out, and, you know, forgive me for interjecting about 3 times. But if I may just state so. First of all, you can look at it from 2 ways. The first direction is, it is probably best that the opposition did not attend, because the meeting went on uninterrupted. In other words, they didn't attend and they didn't walk out and have to be disruptive. That's one way.
Wow.
That's one way that you could look at it. The other aspect of it, looking at it, and by the way, I give credit to Mr. Sanka, right, because he's the only UNC councillor to attend from Warrenville, Kelly Village, and I give credit to him because he said he didn't receive any official correspondence and no member of the UNC spoke to him. Well, I don't know whether or not to believe that. At the end of the day, he was made aware of it before the meeting actually started, and he still took the decision to attend. So I give credit to him. Why? Because when you have an opposition that is so malaged, an opposition that is constantly criticizing just for opposing's sake, not attending these meetings, you have to wonder, is it that it is in their interest or the people's interest that their actions are now based upon? Because in that moment, the government welcomed them. And I would love to see the government and the opposition working together. I would love to see healthy debates. I would love to see them hashing it out at such meetings or being informed. Because the UNC councillors, in my opinion, I know that you all don't have any other choice but to follow your political leader because of political puppetry. It happens in every single political party. I totally understand that. But for the moment in time that you could forget the fact that you are councillors representing peoples, for the moments that you are constantly stating that your constituents face a plethora of issues, when you start realizing that all of that could have been addressed and you could have taken the opportunity like Mr. Sanker, then fine. Honestly, I give you credit. But it's a shame on the opposition that it has to go to, because in my opinion, you can't criticize the government for now forgetting the people if you are forgetting the own people who supported you and put you in that position. And very finally, in relation to the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, not attending because the opposition boycott. Well, that in itself gives credence to the boycott. You cannot criticize the opposition for boycotting the meeting, but then boycott it yourself. I would have understood if you came out and you said, listen, I've been diagnosed with COVID-19. You know, I can't honestly attend these meetings right now. I am so sorry.
Nobody was scheduled to be
virtual
present.
or whatnot. But you know, you cannot come and then attack the opposition by basically doing the same thing that you were criticizing them for. That makes no sense. And that's poor taste on the part.
That is
at
true.
least, because I understand if the Prime Minister has COVID-19, I do. But it's just poor taste on the part of
COVID-19
Paris.
is not an excuse because he was scheduled to attend, and the reason given was because the UNC boycotted. Karen, we're going to have to, I think, wait until after the break to hear your opinion on this matter. But I'll just say this. There's a reason why I keep saying that I would like more opposition involvement in all of these committees and decision-making processes for transparency. Don't give the government a chance to fail. Don't take the chance for the government to fail away from them, and you be the cause of the issue. But we'll get Karen's take on this after the break. We should have news on the hour, Keaton.
We have news on the hour. Thank you very much to our head of news, Denise Sinclair. And Ms. Marquise Akers. We go to that now, and on return, well, Karen will give her opinion, and then we'll have the question of the day, following which the phone lines will be opened. Stay tuned to Talking Point.
Here's your WESN News on the hour. I am Denise Sinclair. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. 2 more gunned down overnight. Unions set to march on Friday. TTPS warns on use of force during citizens' arrests. And internationally, new virus infects 35 people in eastern China. Now for the details. The murder toll has risen yet again with the killing of 2 more men. In San Juan, 1 man, identified only as Aiden, was gunned down at William Street around 8 last night. In another incident, a PH taxi driver was shot and killed in Belmont. Reports say Rasan Richardson was working his taxi along Gloucester Lodge Road when, on reaching in the vicinity of Lovers Lane, he was gunned down by a would-be passenger. The Joint Trade Union movement will be marching on Friday from Henry Street to Central Bank as they make a stance to reject the Chief Personnel Officer's 4% offer. The unions banded yesterday for the discussion.
Different from the bandit that point the gun at you. In fact, they are taking away your lives. If they're riding for us, we must be riding for them. 1,000 more to be in the streets. And we want to propose that come Friday next week, many thousands of workers have to be on the streets in Port of Spain. We're going to begin to continue this major battle.
The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is warning citizens against vigilante justice. This comes following a case over the weekend in Mamaral where 4 men were badly beaten by villagers before being arrested by the police for allegedly stealing copper. TTPS Media Ambassador Sergeant Ansel Ford stresses that there must be reasonable force used in an arrest.
In effecting that arrest, that persons may resist being arrested. And that is understood because naturally, if you commit an offense, you don't really want to be arrested. So you may resist the person. And the law gives that person the authority to use force in effecting that arrest. But it goes further to say that the force used must be reasonable.
In international news now, scientists are tracking a new animal-derived virus in eastern China that has infected at least several dozen people. The novel Langia henipavirus, LAV, was found in 35 patients in Shandong and Henan provinces. Many had symptoms such as fever, fatigue, and a cough. They are thought to have contracted the virus from animals. There is no evidence so far LAV can transmit amongst humans. Researchers detected the virus predominantly in shrews. Well, that was your news to the hour on WESN. I am Denise St. Clair. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back to Talking Point here on WSN once more. Thank you very much to Denise Sinclair, Head of News for News on the Hour. Karen, in relation to the meeting yesterday, which the UNC held a boycott, your opinions and thoughts on that, especially with the Prime Minister then stating that he was not attending because of the boycott?
Yeah, but I think you made a good point on that, so I wouldn't go over that because, I mean, if it was that important, you're dealing with councillors and you deal with local government, so you still want to talk to those who were there to improve the quality of the service. So I think you made a good point on that. What I found was very noticeable is sometimes when you read 2 newspapers, you can definitely get a different impression.
Yes.
So in one newspaper, there was a big picture of Sankar and making him almost into a hero, although they had to admit, as you did, that he said he didn't get initial official communication, but he's still stayed on. So when you see moves like that, I'm not saying he's doing that, but that seems to me to signal that he's saying he's opening himself up and showing the PNM that he's ready to join their forces. And that's how politics is. And if it's not that what he did, that is a common factor in wanting to come out and signal that they're going to, they're changing allegiances. So I'm not necessarily going to give him the credit that you are giving to him, but that is the politician and the cynic in me that would say he wanted to make sure he went there so that the Prime Minister, etc., could see that he was taking a stand. He followed with the UNC, and then he followed and joins the PNM just now. Okay, so that's my take on
Karen,
that. Especially since you made the point that he stayed on after
being informed.
Exactly. That's just the politician in me. But the third point I want to make, which I think is in all fairness, and this I got only from the newspapers, it's not me saying it. One of the reasons they said that they did not come to the meeting was because they're tired of going to these council meetings in which the UNC councillors asking for money, asking for funding, asking for support, and as I'm sure it was the opposite, the same thing is done, as you say, playing the politics, depending on what councillor you are, whether PNM or UNC, that they are fed up of that happening. They're tired of being made empty promises. And you know what? The last point on that is, I would say, okay, that's politics. But, you know, the problem with this government is it has very poor implementation. So if they are criticizing the government for not implementing the promises, you know, the government itself has given them reason to do that. The most recent example, as I mentioned to you all, was the human trafficking, when the diplomat from the US embassy, he was asked, how come you're coming out now and speaking openly about it? Is it a new thing? He says, no, it's been going on a while, but since they passed the legislation, there's been not one conviction. And to have, with all due respect to my former colleague, who I have great regard, to put the blame on the judicial system when the diplomat, who has no horse in the race as far as I know, said very clearly, you could go and read the report, he blamed the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, he blamed the officials, a corruption, and I can't recall that he mentioned judiciary. So even if my honorable friend who wanted to mention judiciary as part of it, he certainly couldn't put it center stage when the very diplomat who was talking about it said the problem was the police service and official corruption.
Well, Karen,
so that if they did not, let me just finish, because you all said, both of you said what I'm going to finish now. So that if they did not come, I'm not saying it was right for them to come, not to come, but it is understandable given this government's very, very poor implementation of everything. Everything is a plan, everything is a project.
I just want to, my only thing though is, again, I don't like it when the opposition gives the government leeway, any leeway. So I think, and this is just my opinion, they should have gone anyway, so then they could come back and say, we went and they wasted our time. I would much rather the opposition do that and then have an account. Hey, we went to all 111 meetings that you had, and all of them was a waste of time. Do it that way. Don't say, well, you know, it's a waste of time, so we're not going to bother.
Karen,
because we need you to participate.
Karen, all your points are very much relevant, valuable, and I respect every single one of them. I agree, actually, with all of them. But I just want to add to your second point. Maybe you're right. Maybe that may be the case with Mr. Sanka. Who knows? But on the flip side, it may not necessarily be a shift in allegiance. It may just simply be frustration from within the party, or frustration with the party leader. He maybe doesn't want to change allegiance. He's maybe just absolutely tired and fed up with the party or the party politics. That's just the flip side. So it could work both ways. But I hear you.
Keita, and that is what happens in politics. A lot of times it's not the party they are unhappy with, it's the leadership.
Yeah.
So it's a common thing, common denominator. Fergie, whatever his name, I can't remember his name. Nobody criticized Patrick Manning more than him. But he was a big staunch PNM. So it's about the leader. So all I'm saying is, this government has had such a poor record of implementation. I gave the most recent example, and their excuse was judiciary. Couldn't even have the guts to admit what the diplomat said. So, you know, they lose credibility. And the last point is, guess why we're talking about it today? You know why we're talking about it today? Because it was front page of both papers, and that's what they wanted. And they achieved it.
Sean? At this point in time, let's open up the phone lines. We give you the opportunity to share your opinions and your thoughts. I think that's, Karen, I mean, you summed it up well. That's often what happens. I mean, in terms of public relations, the opposition does seem to have a way. As much as we may disagree with it, they always do get the headlines. Sean Michael Small, please share with the people the question of the day.
Well, so this thought has come up in the last couple of days where we seemingly would have had dueling press conferences. There was one slated. I wasn't able to find it last night with regards to the UNC's press conference, I think in response to this whole local government situation. If it did happen and I did not find it, please call in, let us know how that went. But I just found it interesting that at least Minister Gonzalez and MP Munarunilal, they went a tit for tat. But notice that they did not do it towards each other directly on the same stage. So I want to ask the people, should politicians of opposing parties publicly debate each other on national issues outside of Parliament? Because yes, we see the parliamentarian debates. Notice how it happens. You speak you draw on for a long time, and then somebody else goes on and speaks for a long time. And fine. But what happens now when you're neck and neck, there's a moderator, and you literally have to answer. You don't speak for 45 minutes. You just have a few minutes to make your point and counterpoint.
Quite frankly, I would love to see Rural Modula versus anybody in the PNM, and I'd love to see the two political leaders of the parties.
The most frustrating thing I could think of right now is Fitzgerald Hines debating Munal Muriel. That will make me throw something at my television. So I'm not going to say have him debate anybody. Let's not say anybody.
No. Honestly, no, because I'll tell you why I stated that. In a poll, I think it was an actor poll, if I'm not mistaken, they stated that Rural Modulal overwhelmingly is the most favored member of the opposition in terms of performance. No, hold on. Listen, as much as you can't see that, that is an actor poll stating that. So we must respect the opinions of others.
He contradicted himself with himself.
Great, excellent. Put him on the platform to debate.
He contradicted himself with himself, then tried to say that Marvin Gonzalez do it because he himself did not understand the words that Marvin Gonzalez said and was reported on. So
We're not going to let you be the moderator, Sean. You cannot be the moderator.
Do not put Sean as the moderator.
No, my blood pressure will go up too high. That will kill me, Karen. That will kill me.
But at the end of it all, precisely what you have stated is exactly my reasoning for putting these individuals. Listen, I know that if you put Fitzgerald Hines and Rural Modulal to debate each other, it's going to end very messy. I know that. But the reason why you want to see instances like this taking place is because you're calling them out not only for their intelligence, but for their lack of intelligence, not only for their plans, but for their lack of planning, and not only for their execution, but their lack of execution.
And lack of preparation.
So
lack of preparation.
Precisely, that is why I would love to see these individuals. I'd love to see Mrs. Kamala Pasabi-Sessa debate Dr. Keith Rowley. I would love to see members of the opposition debate members of the government.
I actually think, and again, people might want to say it's biased.
And honestly, hold on, throw PDP into the mix as well.
Oh yeah,
and NT as well.
Yeah.
Throw them into the mix as well. Right? We have a caller on the line with us from Chaguanas. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I don't agree that the leader of the opposition and the Prime Minister should be debated in public. What they should be doing is ensuring that all the matters that come to Parliament are properly reviewed by the public service and the people can see it. Long ago, as I pointed out before to you, when a bill was going to Parliament, you could go to the warden office and get a copy for a few cents with the rationale before it. The method that they're using now is time-consuming, and they are using that to make a post that's supposed to be part-time, full-time. They have done it recently with the local government bill, making councillors look full-time, and there is nothing in that job that requires full-time, because they make no attempt to have their officers carry out their work. Unfortunately, your youth parliamentarian is not today, because when I raised the query of the Mandalina, he talked about not everybody want ski and sand. But the alternatives he called Hansi and Sand, he called Charlottesville.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure what his intention was. So I don't wanna speak for him.
Okay. And now there could be hotels with special purposes, and there was one in Speyside. Mr. Lau had a hotel there that dealt with nature, and they had tours all through the place and whatnot. I don't know what happened to that. I've been to Tobago for some time. You mentioned the Prime Minister's job is a difficult job. As far as I'm concerned, it's the easiest job. He's enjoying law and order, and I've explained what that means. And if he gets his ministers to see that everything is researched, the job is a very, very simple one. It's because he's not doing that. Your response to WASA yesterday included that WASA is not the only one mismanaged. I don't see why somebody mismanaging is an excuse for you to mismanage.
I don't know if I meant it in the way that you're taking it. If I was the one who said it, I don't know if I meant it in that way.
All right, take the point. My problem with CL Finance is not so much the report, but it was obvious that a lot of misdeeds were carried out by the people, and the police has taken no action to this. They don't have to wait on any report. They're supposed to do their own investigation and deal with it. On this scrap iron business, and not only that, the markets and whatnot, we have removed certain laws in Trinidad without understanding the consequences of it. One of them was to have a receipt for what was considered high value. In my days, that was $5, and I think you had to put a 5-cent stamp on it. If today you have it at $500, all these scrap iron they're buying, you would be able to trace them very easily. And in the mark where you find the trivial larceny, people stealing people's goods all about and going in the market, this couldn't happen because when we were talking about registration of farmers, the idea was only farmers will be allotted there, or people who were selling stuff with receipt from registered farmers. Right? But we remove all these things and we don't study the consequences. You mentioned that Carvin will deal with a conflict in interest.
Professor, please hurry up and make your point, because it's 3 minutes now. It's beyond 3 minutes.
Right, I am going to let you have any clarification.
The timing, Keaton, as he now got to carry. But I think I know what you were asking.
No, forgive me. I want him to make his point.
I want him to make his point. What he was asking about the situation with the AG. So we could speak to Karen about that. Yeah. Thank you, Professor. We do
Thank
have
you
to
very much.
keep the phone lines open.
And as much as Sean is trying to call me out on it, Professor, no, it's nothing to do with
No, I don't think it's intentional.
Let me respond. Professor, I have no problem with you making multiple points, but as I stated before, if we could keep it to 2 minutes, please. If it's, I didn't want to cut you today because, you're making very good points, but in future, to all our callers, if we can just keep it to 2 minutes. But as you were stating now, Sean.
Yeah, Karen, so the professor and I, we were having a bit of a back and forth because and you were the one that originally made this point. You were the one that told me about this with regards to the AG and the I pointed out again where the AG, I can't remember what the matter was, but the conflict of interest being the government lawyer as well as being lawyer for the people. Yeah. And I was trying to say, well, no, the professor did not necessarily agree with me, but I was trying to say those two things, there is a bit of a conflict because the interests of the government and the political party of the government and the people don't always align 100%. They could be in parallel tracks, but they're not necessarily the same.
Yeah, I think I would use the word tension. It creates a tension because the fact of the matter, one would hope that what the government intends is aligned to what is in the interest of the people. But as we know, that's often may not be the case. And it puts the Attorney General in a very difficult position, which is why, as we've said on several occasions, the Attorney General in England is not a member of cabinet. It does not sit on, I don't sit in cabinet. I don't want to say she's not, because it is a lady, she's not an MP, but the point is she does not sit in on cabinet matters so that in terms of giving advice on an issue, there will be no consideration, subconscious or otherwise, in her deliberation, as it should be. And I think that is what we should aim to do, because I think even now, we see that with the Attorney General issue, which I don't really want to, seem as though I'm going after anybody, because I am not. It's definitely not, and it was unfortunate I had to say anything against someone who I had a lot of regard for. But, there is a classic example of him obviously doing something that would affect a person's confidence in him in administration of justice and all of that. And yet, the only person who can remove him, no matter what the law association or any other body says, the only person that can remove him is the Prime Minister.
And
that's that's politics there.
And in relation to what the professor was stating with regards to the Prime Minister's job being the easiest.
Oh my God, it's not.
Yes.
No, but to be fair to him, because I think the professor always looks at the technical processes that's supposed to be. A lot of what makes it hard is the politics and the unofficial parts of the job of corralling all of these people with political ambitions and dealing with the opposition and so on.
Regardless of such,
and finances and all that.
Regardless of such, to my faithful co-host, Professor, I have to disagree with you. I don't think it's easiest. As much as you may have your ministers working effectively and efficiently, and as much as you will have law and order fully implemented.
What you mean? He just throws Imbit and Young at whatever problem that comes up, and they will solve it eventually.
And that's precisely probably why he has the most difficult job, because of what you just said. But we have a caller on the line with us from San Fernando. Good morning, caller.
Hey, gentlemen, and Mr. Sheriff.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have a question for Mr. Sheriff.
Go ahead.
With respect to this same financial issue. Mr. Sheriff, when I work at a company, and I was on the pension fund committee, and it was administered through a trust, one of the commercial banks in Trinidad and Tobago. And there was a meeting back then, that was before this collapse, probably about 2 or 3 years before the collapse. And I had asked a question when we had a committee meeting to the bank representative, why do we not have any money invested in TL Financial and Clico? Because at that time, they were paying 10% interest and that type of thing. And the gentleman said in the meeting, because the company is insolvent, and we're not going to put your money there. Now, I say that to ask this question. What is the legal responsibility or liability does the central bank have with this collapse? Because weren't they the overseeing body for financial institutions?
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to know
they were the overseeing.
There is any legal responsibility that the bank had that they probably disregarded or did not do? That's my question.
Well,
thank you very much.
All I can say is that's certainly before my time. So that answer requires a long answer, and I have a feeling, not that I don't mind answering it, but it was before my time. And yes, the central bank and inspector financial institutions, yes, but when it came to insurance companies, they did not have that oversight until there was an amendment to the legislation in 2009, which gave them the authority to have oversight over Clico itself.
I mean, that's what businesses do. I believe that's the whole financial crisis in the States. I can't remember which banks or
2008
it was, and the housing market. They look for loopholes, basically, to try to maximize their profits. Because big companies can go bankrupt. It is possible. Before COVID. This is not just a COVID thing.
But Sean, you know something? I'm now, because we have short time, you know what is interesting? He said that they knew that the CAIB was insolvent, and
an
that was before I
outsider.
came in there. So
An
all
outsider
of a
knew.
sudden,
An outsider who was not in government knew.
Hold on, mind you, we are assuming that the individual that he's referring to is an outsider.
No, but okay, fair enough.
We are assuming, But if it was an outsider,
let's leave it alone.
If it was an outsider, that is incredible.
People in the industry get whispers that most people are not going to get. It's not going to be limited to only the people in the boardroom.
We have one more call this morning, a call on the line with us from Jacob Martin. Good morning, caller.
President Karen, thanks. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can I just mention one other thing on the One China policy?
Yes.
Because remember, the relationship was strained when the former president blacklisted China. And by the way, I just can't wait to see him indicted, Sean Michael. I can't wait for that. Anyhow, it's in everyone's best interest, particularly the U.S., to maintain ties with Taiwan, especially now, because remember the TSMC, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, is the world's largest manufacturer and supplier of semiconductors. Everyone needs that for your cell phones, the computers, Apple, for your car brakes.
Yep.
And China's technology is way behind, again, because the U.S. has asked the Netherlands to not supply China with the technology needed to upgrade. So the bottom line is, it's in everyone's best interest to maintain even superficial ties in their quest for greed and power. Just like Joe Biden had to fist bump MBS a few weeks ago. Keaton, did you see that?
I did.
Despite the pledge regarding Jamal Khashoggi. So, the geopolitics is just really a mess.
Yes.
That's it. And I apologize for my phone being disconnected on national TV the other day. My charger was giving problems. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Sorry, caller.
It's okay.
If your service provider is TSCT, we completely understand.
Oh,
I thought they were putting out from your line.
Your other line is not working.
No, it's not.
I think. I'm not sure.
It's not been for the last 2 months, but thank you.
Thank you. My one thing about the Trump situation is this. It happened with Clinton. The Republicans had a president, and then the Democrats were able to, because at the end of the day, whoever might disagree with the impeachment of Trump, the Republicans did it first. The flip side of that is the Democrats are now setting a precedent with what the justice system could do to a former president. Don't be surprised if the Republicans do it back when they now have a bit more entrenched authority and influence over the justice system. So those things, that's why I have paused. The situation with Trump, I don't even think it's that important.
If you want to gain some humor for this, you should just go look at Fox News interview with Eric Trump. I don't think you realize what he stated in the interview. Go take a look at it if you haven't as yet. It's very entertaining, actually. But on a couple of side notes, first of all, very quick fact about Taiwan. Did you know that they have one of the largest foreign exchange reserves in the world? It's actually bigger. One of the largest foreign exchange reserves in the world.
That's why China wants them.
China
wants them for their earning power and for their technology.
Actually bigger than the United Kingdom and Germany.
Yeah.
Imagine that. But anyway, the news I wanted to share with you all, you probably would have heard is the news on the hour before we came back. But Karen and Sean, scientists are tracking a new animal-derived virus in eastern China that has affected at least several dozen people. The novel Lanya henipavirus was found in 35 patients in the Shandong and Henan provinces.
Lanya 23.
Many had symptoms such as fever, fatigue, and a cough. They are thought to have contracted the virus from animals. There is no evidence, however, that, well, at least so far, according to the article, that Levy can transmit among humans, but they've detected the virus predominantly in shrews.
Lanya 22. Let's go.
So
or landed?
No, my friend, Lanya.
No, but it will be Lanya something virus disease, just like COVID. So
you know, when you're saying that, you remember me. You're reminding me of Lanya. You know when someone say you're the Lanya.
I can't remember what Lanya means, but I'm pretty sure it's not the same thing.
I have heard it before. I can't remember what it means. Hold on.
But my grandmother said it about me when I was a young. She told me that I was going to be the Lanya.
I actually think that if they have the same word in New Orleans, it might mean something different.
It is actually. Lanyap is actually a Louisiana tradition. It is. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but nevertheless, we'll try to look that up. But yes, Karen, I have heard it before. I just honestly can't remember what it means right now. But anyway, folks, that is
another virus. We haven't even figured out if monkeypox is going to be the one that gets us.
Stop panicking. I was just informing you. Don't panic as yet. Don't predict anything. You know, just
actually, there was a part of me that thought China would never attack, and then the more I looked into it, you know, they might just attack. And then I'm like, nah, they won't attack because the consequences. But then it's like, nah, they might just do it because XYZ reason if they feel pressure. It's a hell of a thing.
You see what happens when Sean doesn't have internet for 3 hours? This is what happens.
Yeah.
Nobody steal Sean's copper wire, please, because quite frankly, we wouldn't be able to deal with it here in studio if that was the case. Nevertheless, Sean Michael Small, it's a pleasure always having you alongside for the conversation. Thank you very much. And especially for always cutting and editing the videos for the people to see.
Yes, well, I mean, not too much excitement this time as opposed to yesterday.
No, there was a lot of excitement this time, trust me. I'm pumping this morning.
It's interesting you were more pumped by that video as opposed to the ones yesterday.
No, actually, I was more pumped by all the topics we discussed this morning.
Hello.
No, Karen, I see you. Hi, Karen. Thank you very much for joining us.
Sorry, I was losing track of time, Karen.
Okay. Anyway, I always have fun with you all, and it's all done. And I think as I depart, I really think this is one of these shows where people get an opportunity to not just hear the bacchanal talk, but to learn. We all learn and all benefit, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, hopefully it's constructive, right? If it's not constructive, folks, call us out on it. We have no problem with that.
Certainly. We're here for, listen, we can take constructive criticism, and we're also very much
we're not politicians.
To your opinions.
We're not politicians. We can actually take
thoughts.
criticism.
We can. And to Karen, thank you very much once more. You are, in fact, a great contributor to the program in terms of education as well. And you've been with us since day one, so thank you very much for that.
I mean, she educated all of the lawyers in Parliament, so I'm just saying.
Okay, I would simply say that doesn't say much, but at the end of the day, let me not discredit Karen.
What do you mean?
Let me not discredit.
You know,
anyway, folks,
she put them on her knee and taught them everything that they know.
You've gone far enough. I'm Keaton Shaw. Thank you very much for joining us. Remember, as ironic as it may be, today is a good day to have a good day. We'll see you again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good day, all of you, everyone.
Okay, Karen. So next week, Visa.